Instead of my family's private jet to the warrior camp, I chose a packed train, all for my mate, Alpha Kale. He claimed he wanted a romantic journey and a taste of a normal life, just for one day. But when the train stopped, I severed our mate bond. He gasped, clutching his chest, his eyes wide with disbelief. Elena, you're doing this just because I gave Serafina our private cabin? Yes. He gave a bitter laugh, looking at me like I was a spoiled princess. Baby, don't be ridiculous. You know it's dangerous for an Omega to be alone, especially when she's surrounded by so many predatory males. Name your price. My kills at camp? I'll tell everyone I'm yours. Or should I just mark you again? Before I could answer, the Omega he was protecting whimpered his name. I feel their eyes on me, Serafina whimpered. I'm scared. Instantly, he wrapped his arms around her, a human shield. He stalked possessively off the train with her in his arms. He never even gave me a second glance. Kale had no idea who he was protecting. The Omega he pitted was no victim. Serafina belonged to a trafficking ring that preyed on lone she-wolves. It wasn't until he found me kidnapped and broken that he collapsed, begging for a forgiveness that was long gone. But I had already sent a mind link to the only man who could destroy him. My father. The Leakin chairman. The one man with the power to make or break any alpha. Cut off Kale's resources. All of them. Now, the warrior training camp was days away, and my father's voice was still ringing in my head from our last mind link. Are you absolutely sure about this, Elena? He'd pressed, his tone laced with disapproval. Our private jet could have you there in a few hours, rested and ready. A public train will be exhausting. You won't be in peak condition when you arrive. It's romantic, I'd insisted, my heart fluttering. It was Kale's idea. He'd painted a beautiful picture. Just the two of us, journeying through human lands before the chaos of camp began. Following his lead, my excitement had been a fever pitch. I'd spent days planning every perfect detail. His favorite small batch bourbon, a box of rare, hand-rolled cigars. I'd even procured a flawless moonstone. Its cool light rumored to soothe the beast that paces within every alpha. Everything was perfect. But on the morning we were set to leave, a clipped call had him moving so fast he was a blur. Elena, my love. His voice was a low, urgent rumble through our link. I'm so sorry. A pack emergency. I might be a little late. I shot through my veins. What is it? Do you need me to? It's nothing for you to worry that pretty little head over. I'll be there before you know it. He cut the link, and just like that he was gone. Clutching the cool moonstone in my palm, I went to the station alone. I tried to swallow the unease coiling in my gut like a cold snake. Kale wasn't reckless. Whatever this was, it had to be serious. I trusted him. But as I stood alone on that platform, 1 hour bleeding into 2, that trust began to curdle into a cold knot of dread in my gut. Then finally he appeared. He wasn't alone. Clinging to his arm was a woman so fragile, she looked like a strong wind might snap her in two. Their heads were bent so close, their whispers were a shared secret. A doe-eyed Omega. In that single, shattering moment, the romance died. When she spotted me, the Omega, Serafina, flushed and snatched her hand away. Oh, Elena, please don't misunderstand. Kale was just shielding me. For an Omega like me, traveling alone presents so many potential dangers, it's just overwhelming. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. My voice was tight, dangerously low. You didn't mention a +1, Kale. It wasn't planned. You understand, don't you, my love? He looked at me, his eyes pleading, but there was an unmistakable expectation there, too. A demand for my compliance. You're an alpha's daughter. You were born strong. She wasn't. Serafina immediately dipped her head, the picture of shy submission. Kale reached for the nape of my neck, a familiar, possessive gesture. My eyes burned. I flinched back from his touch. So this was your emergency? Picking her up. Look at my little moon goddess, getting all territorial. He chuckled, a low, patronizing sound. He ruffled my hair, a gesture that was supposed to be affectionate, but felt like he was patting a dog. Serafina had too much luggage, and was terrified to walk past the crowds of strong, unfamiliar men. You grew up surrounded by an honor guard, Elena. You can't possibly understand what life is like for an ordinary wolf. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Besides, won't the journey be more fun with a friend? Come on, Elena. Stop being a princess. Serafina bowed her head again, her voice a timid whisper. Elena, I'm so sorry to be a burden. Please, anything you need on the trip, just ask. I'll do anything to make it up to you, I promise. But a moment later, at the ticket gate, the same girl who'd promised to do anything was suddenly too frail to lift her own suitcase. Oh, Serafina cried out, stumbling dramatically and releasing a faint, cloying scent of distress. He dropped my hand like it was a hot coal. Elena, she's not like you. She's a delicate omega. I'm going to help her, he said, and it wasn't a question. I know you'll understand. He gave my hair an absent-minded kiss on the forehead and then, with painstaking care, escorted Serafina through the gate. He never once looked back. I knew that helping the weak was the right thing to do, but watching his retreating back, a profound discomfort settled in my gut, churning like a stormy sea. Then clenching my jaw, I heaved my own damn suitcases and forced my way through the throng. By the time I finally wrestled my bags to our private cabin, I was drenched in sweat, my custom-made combat boots scuffed and stamped with the grime of a dozen strangers' footprints. The cabin was empty. No Kale. No Serafina. I reached for Kale through our mind link. Silence. I sent a message. No reply. The train was already lurching into motion when I found them. Not in person, but on Serafina's newly updated PackNet feed. She was snuggled into Kale's side, her head tilted against his shoulder, both of them flashing peace signs at the camera like a pair of teenagers. The caption read, "A true alpha makes you feel safe. My hero. So blessed to have him by my side on this scary journey." And there, twisting the knife already buried in my gut, was Kale's own comment. "You have the heart of a warrior, Serafina. Hands down the strongest omega I know." The uncomfortable feeling in my stomach intensified, my heart clenching into a tight, painful knot. I wiped my palms and with shaking fingers, typed my own seemingly rational and considerate comment. "Yes, it's so good to have him by your side." It was painfully clear. It was as if they were the couple on a planned romantic getaway, and I was the unexpected, unwelcome third wheel. Even so, Serafina wasn't about to let me off the hook. A notification pinged. "Serafina has removed your comment." A bitter, humorless smile twisted my lips. Of course she did. Even in the supposed sanctuary of our cabin, the cacophony of the train was a physical assault. The reek of stale beer, cheap human perfume, and the sharp, animal musk of hundreds of werewolves. It all slammed into me, a brutal sensory overload. The rocking of the train became a nauseating lurch, each sway a hammer blow against my skull. The headache morphed into a full-blown migraine, until exhaustion finally claimed me, pulling me under into a fitful sleep. I have no idea how long I was out before a hand, gentle and familiar, began to stroke my hair. I jolted awake, my vision swimming with black spots. But through the dizzying haze I saw him. Kale. I gently pushed his hand away. "Don't touch me." "Gods, Elena, you look like hell," he murmured, the concern in his voice a little too practiced. He sat beside me, his hand moving toward my forehead. I recoiled as if burned. Sensory overload. I ground out. Too many scents. Kale offered a helpless, almost charming smile. Okay, my fault. It was so loud in the public car I didn't hear my communicator." He grinned, reaching out to pinch my cheek. "But I got you the only private cabin on this entire train," he said, as if bestowing a great gift. "I was the one stuck squeezing in with Serafina and the others. And after all that, you're still not happy?" I stared at him. He genuinely saw nothing wrong. He thought he'd done me a favor. Maybe he didn't have any ulterior motives. Maybe he was simply trying to help an omega in need. Our years of love couldn't be a lie, could they? Perhaps I was the one being too sensitive, too possessive. "Ecstatic," I whispered weakly, fighting another wave of nausea. "Now if you don't mind, I need to rest. I know you're not feeling well." His voice softened into a persuasive purr, as he pulled me to a sitting position. "But I need you to do something for me." My eyes snapped open. Serafina is having a complete breakdown in the public car, Kale said, his grip on my hand tightening. You know how it is for an unmarked Omega around so many strangers. She's on the verge of a panic attack. And I need you to give her the cabin, he said, his tone so casual you'd think he was asking me to pass the damn salt. We can rough it out in the public car together. A real adventure. It'll be good for us, strengthen our bond. He bent down as if to help me with my boots. You were just complaining about me not being with you. Now's our chance. I sat bolt upright, the blood draining from my face. I couldn't believe it. He wasn't here for me. He was here to kick me out. A strangled, hysterical sound almost escaped my lips. You want me to give our cabin to her? Elena, you're the heir to an alpha. You were raised to be a shield for the weak, he coaxed, his eyes softening in that way that used to make my knees go weak. Serafina needs a safe, quiet space. So do I shot back, pressing my fingers to my temples. I have sensory overload. My head feels like it's going to split open. Just as Kale opened his mouth to argue, the thick, cloying scent of an Omega in distress flooded the doorway. A slender figure stumbled in. Alpha Kale. Serafina's voice was a broken sob. She shot me a look from under her lashes, a perfectly calculated glance that was equal parts hurt and defiance. It's all my fault. I'm just a weak Omega, not like you, Elena. You were born with power, the daughter of a great alpha. You get everything you could ever want. She let out a dramatic, shuddering breath. I can't afford a private cabin. I know you look down on me, because I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Please, just let me go. I'll take my chances in the corridor. Let the chaos out there swallow me whole. Maybe I'd be better off. Kale's face hardened into a mask of granite. He moved instantly, pulling Serafina behind his protective frame. Elena, for your arrogance, apologized to Serafina. Now, their voices weren't quiet. I could feel the hostile glares from wolves in the adjoining cars. Murmurs rippled through the nearby cars. What's going on with that poor Omega? Is that bitch picking on her? She sounds like she's in agony. I hadn't done a single thing, yet I was the villain of this story. My chest was so tight I could barely draw a breath. My eyes burned with unshed tears. Why should I? I choked out. I did nothing wrong at that exact moment. The train gave a violent lurch, screeching to a sudden stop. The world tilted, and a wave of intense vertigo crashed over me. I swayed, my face ashen. For a fleeting second, Kale's expression tightened with concern. He reached out to steady me. Ugh! Serafina suddenly gasped, clutching her head and collapsing against him. Alpha Kale, my head, I'm so dizzy I think I'm going to pass out. He forgot me instantly. All his attention snapped back to her as he eased her onto the cabin's sofa. Then he grabbed my arm, his grip unforgiving, and hauled me to my feet. The cabin is for Serafina. Consider this your apology for your appalling behavior. He all but threw me into the chaotic aisle of the public car. Be good, he said, his voice cold, and drop the princess act. This will build some character. You sit here. I'm going to take care of her. I'll be back when she's asleep. With that, Kale turned his back on me. The cabin door slid shut, his silhouette a dark shape against the frosted glass before it disappeared entirely. The lock clicked, a sound as final as a coffin lid shutting. And with it, the last of my composure shattered. The sensory assault was instantaneous and brutal. I scrambled for the nearest restroom and doubled over, dry heaving until my throat was raw. You all right there, little wolf? A kind-faced man from the adjacent seat leaned over, his eyes filled with gentle concern. I managed a weak wave, unable to form words. You look like you're about to phase from the pain. Drink this, he said softly, pressing a steaming cup into my hand. It's a special herbal blend for calming the senses. I'm a pack healer, you can trust me. A passing train attendant caught my eye and gave the man a reassuring nod, as if to vouch for him. I offered a grateful but wary smile. Tea smelled soothing, but I knew better than to accept drinks from strangers, no matter how kind their eyes were. I set it aside, murmuring my thanks, and laid my head on the grimy table, trying to will the world away. I was jolted from a shallow, pain-filled doze by the screech and lurch of the train. The sensory overload clawed at the inside of my skull, and every joint in my body screamed in protest. The seat beside me was cold, occupied by a sleeping stranger. Cale, who had promised he'd be right back, was gone. My communicator screen glowed in the dark. 3 a.m. One new message, sent hours ago, at 11:30 p.m. It was from Cale. Baby, have to stay with Serafina. She's still unstable. Don't be mad. Think of it as a test. Builds character. Love you. His words. His blatant, casual cruelty. It was like a vice tightening around my heart, squeezing the air from my lungs. The tears I'd been fighting for hours finally broke free, hot and silent against my cold skin. And in that moment, something inside me broke. The boy my father had pulled from the ashes of a decimated pack, the man I had promised my soul to, was gone. He claimed he loved me. But why did he show such complete disregard for me? Sleep was impossible now. I just sat there, a hollow shell, and watched the dark world rush by until the gray light of dawn. But even with the sunrise, Cale was a ghost. I'd been in such a rush yesterday. I'd left everything in the cabin, my potions, my emergency rations, everything. Except the small purse slung over my shoulder. No water. No food. Nothing. I desperately needed my potion kit. Inside was the one elixir that could soothe the screaming agony of a sensory overload. The thought of seeing Serafina's triumphant face made my stomach churn, so I sent Cale a message, begging him to bring me my things. No response. Finally, with no other choice, I pushed through the dizzying pain and began the long, claustrophobic journey back to the private cabin. But I stopped dead before I even reached the door, frozen by a burst of raucous laughter from within. Alpha Cale, we're just playing a game, but the sparks between you two are going to set this train on fire. My blood ran cold. A second later, Cale's low chuckle answered. Don't be ridiculous. Serafina's never played truth or dare. I'm just helping her out. It's not about sparks. Haha, listen to you, jumping to defend her honor. And you say there are no sparks. Someone else snickered. Speaking of, who was that beautiful chick last night? So arrogant. Total brat. She's a pampered princess. Cale's voice was heavy with a sigh. All flash, no fire. Not like Serafina. Serafina clawed her way up from nothing. She's got grit. She's real. Every word was a poison dart, finding its mark in my already bleeding heart. Cale was a liar. I remembered the day of my coming-of-age ceremony, how he'd presented me with his courtship gift, his hands trembling as he confessed he couldn't see me as just his sister anymore. He wanted to be my mate, to forge a bond that would tether our very souls. I had been so shy, so deliriously happy. We'd agreed to have our mating ceremony right after we returned from the training camp. She lost. Serafina lost again. Tequila shots for the loser. Drawn by the cheers like a moth to a flame, I moved to the cabin door. Through the window, I saw them. 4 or 5 young wolves lounging on the sofas. The expensive whiskey and cigars I'd so carefully selected for Cale were scattered across the table. Serafina was propped against the very pillow I had custom-made for him, the one embedded with a large, soothing moonstone. And Cale was leaning over her. She was holding a shot glass of tequila to his lips, her own parted in a soft smile. They looked so close, their faces inches apart, lost in their own world. Serafina's face was flushed, her gaze locked on his in breathless anticipation. A red haze of fury descended. I didn't think. I just meant to stop them. But when I moved, the cabin door opened with a bang. The sudden noise startled everyone. Serafina shrieked, jumping in surprise. The tequila she was holding splashed everywhere, soaking Cale's shirt and her own arm. Serafina. Cale lunged to her side. His eyes met mine, a flicker of guilt quickly extinguished by a storm of rage. Elena, what the hell are you doing? You cut her. Apologize. All the pain, all the humiliation I had swallowed, erupted. My voice was laced with venom. Apologize? For what? Was the tequila good? How's that shattering mind of yours? Feeling better now? Cale flinched, opening his mouth to explain, but Serafina beat him to it. It was my fault for drinking your alcohol. I'll apologize. She raised a hand and slapped herself hard across the face. My senses were overloading. I felt like I was dying. Alpha Kale and the others only suggested a game to distract me from the pain. Is one slap enough? She hit herself again and again. Smack. Smack. Is it? If not, I can get on my knees right now and beg for your forgiveness. Tears streamed down her face as she lunged toward me, making a show of dropping to her knees. But she stumbled directly into a passenger walking past the open door. A passenger holding a cup of scalding coffee. In a flash, a wave of scalding liquid and hot grounds splashed across the front of my leg. A muffled grunt of pain was torn from my lips, but it was completely drowned out by Seraphina's dramatic cry. Alpha Kale, it hurts so much. She held up her arm, displaying a few faint red splotches for Kale's inspection. Kale's protective instincts flared. He gently took her hand. Elena, I have never been more disappointed in you. Kale snarled, his voice a low, dangerous growl as he shielded Seraphina. My face was chalk white from the searing pain. Kale, she did it on purpose. Can't you see? I'm the one who's burned. His gaze flickered to my leg for a nanosecond. But Seraphina let out a tearful gasp. Alpha Elena, how could you? It's one thing to be cruel, but to lie you're wearing thick leather pants. There's no way you were burned. Why are you trying to frame me? The flicker of concern in Kale's eyes died, replaced by a glacial cold. Arrogant, violent, and now a pathetic liar. He looked at me with such contempt, as if I were something he'd just scraped off the bottom of his boot. What in the hell has happened to you? I'm taking Seraphina to have her arm looked at. You stay here and think about what you've done. Kale supported Seraphina as they disappeared down the corridor. I stood there, stunned into silence. It was true. Unlike Seraphina's bare arm, I was wearing leather pants. But they were crafted from the hide of a fiend-class magical beast, a material with extreme thermal conductivity, also known for its defense against silver poisoning. The scalding liquid didn't just burn, it superheated the leather, causing it to cling to my skin like a second, fiery layer. A broken, hollow laugh escaped my lips. Wincing with every agonizing step, I turned and limped back into the chaos of the train. The searing pain in my leg was just a dull echo of the inferno that had consumed my heart. I found an empty restroom and ran cold water over the burn until my leg was numb. As for burn salve, that would have to wait until we were off this cursed train. Luckily, the journey was almost over. When I limped back to my seat, the kind-faced Omega healer from before glanced at me with concern. Seeing the storm in my eyes, however, he wisely kept his distance. A few hours later, as the train began to slow for its final approach to the station, Kale finally materialized in the public car. All right, have you sulked long enough? He asked, his tone dripping with a patience I could no longer tell was real or fake, as he reached to ruffle my hair. I flinched away, turning my head. Kale sighed, a mask of weary patience settling on his face. Look, I'm sorry. The signal on this rust bucket is terrible. I never got your message. Can we move past this? He lowered his voice, his tone shifting to that of a magnanimous leader. But Elena, your behavior was unacceptable. You can't just attack people. That's beneath you. He wrapped an arm around my shoulder, his touch making my skin crawl. I'm willing to let it go this one time. But you have to promise me, no more bullying Seraphina. Deal. I didn't say a word. There was nothing left to say. My silence was a void. But Kale took it as submission. He smiled, pressing a triumphant kiss to my forehead. That's my good girl. That's my one and only mate. Before, his kisses had sent sparks through my veins. Now they just made me want to vomit. Come on, let's grab our bags and get off. Kale reached for my hand. I ignored it, pushing myself to my feet. He just chuckled, assuming I was still sulking. He pinched my nose playfully. Fine, have it your way. But stay close. I don't want to lose my mate on the platform. Too late for that, I thought, a cold emptiness settling in my chest. You already did. The jarring chime of our arrival pulled me from my dark thoughts. We were here. The train was at the station. Kale, already shielding Seraphina, was swallowed by the surging crowd in an instant. I stared at my two large suitcases, then pulled out my communicator. Father, after warrior camp ends, I have something important to tell you. I was contemplating the long drop from the train door to the platform, wondering how I'd manage my luggage alone, when the Omega healer's voice appeared at my elbow. There you are, little wolf. Those are heavy cases for one person. Here, he said, already moving. Let me get these down for you. You can take them once we're on the platform. As he spoke, he shoved his own water bottle into my hands. Hold this for me, would you? Then he heaved my suitcases and headed for the exit. It all happened so fast, I didn't have time to refuse. I fumbled with the bottle he'd thrust at me. A strange, cloying herbal scent wafted up from the bottle, but in the sensory chaos of the train, I dismissed it as just another odd smell. I followed him onto the platform, ready to thank him and retrieve my bags. But as I opened my mouth to speak, a thick fog began to creep into my mind. My strength, my senses, my very will, they were all draining away fast. The healer's kind expression melted away like wax, replaced by something cold and predatory. His gaze lingered on my face, a strange heat in his eyes. He reached out and stroked my cheek, his touch making me shudder. Well, good job. Serafina wasn't kidding. Skin like porcelain. Enough to make a man's blood boil. And your body so healthy. Your organs will fetch a high price. From now on, his voice was a low, chilling purr. You'll call me uncle. And you're going to be a good little niece and do everything I tell you. Understand? He took my hand, his grip like steel, and began to pull me along. A silent, primal scream was trapped in my chest. Liar. Predator. Run. Kale, where are you? Help me. But my body was no longer mine. I could only watch as my own head gave a slow, placid nod. Okay, uncle. I followed him, a puppet on a string. Kale, please. Kale, come back, I'm scared. Perhaps some cruel twist of fate heard my silent plea, because my communicator rang. It was Kale. For a single, hopeful second, a flicker of light pierced the fog in my eyes. The healer just sneered. Don't get your hopes up. Your mate has more important things to worry about. Not bothering to hide, he answered the call on speaker. His voice was rushed, distracted. Elena? Hey, listen, Serafina's got a bad case of heat stroke. I'm taking her to the medic wing. Shuttles to camp are by the main exit. Just grab one and check in. Love you, bye. With the last of my strength, I forced out a single, desperate plea. Save me. All right, Elena, stop it. Kale's voice was sharp with annoyance. Don't use these kinds of tactics to get my attention. Serafina's situation is serious. The line went dead. A sharp sting exploded across my cheek as the healer's hand connected with my face. Still trying to be clever? Looks like I'll have to break you in properly. Then he grabbed a fistful of my hair, dragging me toward a nondescript cargo truck with a reinforced cage welded into the back. For the first time in my life, I had been struck. Humiliation burned hotter than any physical pain, and tears of rage streamed down my face. I bit my lip until it bled, swearing a silent, vicious oath that every single person who had a hand in this would pay. Darkness swallowed me as the doors sealed shut. My last glimpse of light was a black shadow, rocketing toward me. Kale's POV. Kale stood outside the station, a frail Serafina clinging to his arm. She played the part of the damsel to perfection. His communicator vibrated. He glanced down. The name flashing on the screen shattered his casual air. Alpha Adrian. I shot through his veins. He went rigid. Serafina saw it too. A flicker of something unreadable crossed her eyes before she held her breath, listening. Father? I wasn't expecting your call. Is everything? Where is Elena? His father's voice was a blade, slicing through the connection. Did you two fight? The authority in his tone was absolute, a command, not a question. Kale forced a laugh. The sound was thin, brittle. Father, Elena's been telling you her fairy tales again, hasn't she? She's being childish. I was just helping a delicate Omega. Just helping? Then explain why she hinted I should break up with you. I've been trying to reach her on the mind link. She's blocked me. His father's voice was laced with ice. A bone-deep chill snaked down Kale's spine. Alpha Adrian knew his daughter. Elena didn't make idle threats. A move this drastic? This final? It meant she'd been pushed past her breaking point. The lie withered on his tongue. The weight of his father's words hit him like a physical blow. She wasn't angry. She was done. Elena is with you, his father stated, not asked. Put her on the line. Now. Cale's breath hitched. Father, Elena isn't with me right now. Not with you, his father interrupted again, his voice rising to a dangerous growl. Then where is she? Cale, what in the hell have you done? Her communicator probably died, Serafina murmured, her voice thick with feigned concern. Princesses can be a bit forgetful, can't they? The excuse made sense. It calmed the immediate panic in his chest. He was about to relay it when a figure in his peripheral vision caught his eye. A blur of motion like an out-of-control wolf. It was Ronan, heir to the Silvermoon pack. He was a predator of black leather and chrome, his motorcycle carving through traffic like a heat-seeking missile, blasting through barricades as if they were confetti. A cold dread, sharp and sudden, washed over Cale. Hello? Cale? Are you there? Talk to me. Father, I'm going to find Elena right now. Cale said hastily, turning to chase after Ronan. Alpha Cale, where are you going? Cale. Serafina let out a pained cry, trying desperately to stop him. Serafina, you wait right here. Cale was cut off by Serafina's scream of pain. He whipped around to see her crumpled on the pavement, her ankle bent at an impossible, sickening angle. For one agonizing second, Cale was torn. Elena. Ronan. Serafina's cry of pain. Duty. Desire. With a raw curse, he pivoted on his heel and rushed back. He scooped Serafina up, depositing her on a bench. Don't move, he commanded. I have to see what that was. I'll be back. Without waiting for her reply, Cale took off again. Alpha Cale, Serafina reached for him, but her hand grasped only air. She bit her lip in fury and quickly pulled out her communicator, sending an encrypted message. By the time Cale tried to find Ronan again, he was long gone. He searched everywhere. No sign of him. Panting, he pulled out his communicator and called Ronan. The call timed out. Damn it. Cale swore. He immediately tried calling Elena. Unable to connect. Again and again, the same robotic voice. Elena, where are you? Stop being stubborn. I was wrong. Please answer me as soon as you get this, okay? He messaged her. Nothing. He ran to the training camp's reception point. No one had seen the famous princess. For the first time in his privileged life, true panic sank its claws into him. A cold, sharp-bladed thing. It went deep. The alpha power that was his birthright, the very core of his being, fractured. Splintered. It was utterly beyond his command. Not knowing what else to do, Cale spotted the station's security cameras. A spark of desperate hope ignited. He sprinted toward security. A call request came through from Serafina. He ignored it. She called again. And again. Just wait there, he finally answered. His voice laced with the alpha command, and immediately hung up. His heart pounded. What if Elena called and the line was busy? When they heard an alpha heir might be missing, security immediately pulled up the surveillance footage. Cale gave them the train number. Soon, Elena's figure appeared on the screen. He saw the elderly man help Elena with her suitcases. Cale froze. The gap between the train and the platform was wide. Those two heavy suitcases, Elena couldn't have gotten them down on her own. He swore he would apologize properly as soon as he saw her. But then the camera lingered on the man. On the way his eyes slithered over Elena's body. Not with kindness, but with the cold, calculating appraisal of a butcher. He saw the man's hand close around her arm. He watched paralyzed. Horror stole the breath from his lungs. He saw the stranger lead her away. And Elena she followed. The image detonated behind his eyes. A primal roar of denial and white-hot fury ripped through him. His alpha heart didn't just break. It imploded. A black hole of self-loathing. Sir, does the young lady know the man in this video? The officer asked, sensing something was wrong. No. Cale choked out, his voice trembling. She doesn't know him. Gods, she doesn't know him. Call the police, he roared, the sound cracking with raw terror. Find her. You have to find her now. The human police sprang into action. They tracked the cameras to a modified cargo truck. A reinforced metal cage inside. When Cale saw Elena being pushed inside, the moment the doors slammed shut, he swayed on his feet. Just then his communicator rang. "Have you found Elena?" It was his father, his voice tight with anxiety. Cale's lips trembled. "Father Elena, she's been kidnapped. By wolf traffickers." Crash. The sound of shattering glass came through the line. "Father, don't worry." Cale added quickly. "Ronan and the police are after them. I'm going right now. I will bring her back safely." "I will," he repeated, not knowing if he was reassuring his father or himself. "Cale," his father's voice was venomous. "You've done a fine job. You better pray Elena is unharmed." Elena's POV. The door slammed shut. My world ended. Serafina. The name was acid on my tongue. She wasn't a rival. She was one of them. A strange truck. Strange men. And Cale was still playing hero for her, lost in her web of lies. From what the trafficker had said, Serafina was part of their crew. She would stop Cale from ever finding out I was gone. By the time he realized I would be who knows where. Hurt, terror, and soul-crushing despair churned in my gut. "Boss, look. That Harley behind us, you think it's following us?" the driver yelled. "Fuck, I think it is," the man cursed. My hazy eyes flew wide open. Who? Cale? Was he here to save me? "Lose him now," the man snarled. "But it's over. There are cops. The cops are here," the driver shouted. The trafficker slammed his foot on the gas. The truck swerved wildly, smashing through everything. Boom. A cataclysmic roar of tortured metal. A bone-shattering impact. Through the ringing in my ears, darkness encroached. But one image burned itself into my mind. Ronan, a titan of smoke and fire, tearing through the wreckage. And on his face, raw primal terror. A fear I never thought a powerful alpha like him could ever show. I woke up in a state-of-the-art private hospital. My head spun. Before I could process it, a violent clash erupted outside my door. "You have the gall to show your face here, Cale?" Ronan's voice was a low snarl, his alpha scent flooding the hallway. "How did you let her out of your sight? How did you let those filth get their hands on her?" "This has nothing to do with you. I will apologize to Elena myself." Cale shot back. "Get out of my way. Get out of my way." Ronan's voice was a low snarl. "I will tear you limb from bloody limb before you taint the air she breathes. You think you have the right to speak her name? Dream on, you worthless piece of filth." The power crackling between them shook the very walls. The door flew open. Cale, knocked to the floor, saw me. "Elena," he scrambled toward me. "I'm sorry, Elena." He reached for my hand. I snatched my hand back as if burned. His touch was poison. Without a word, I focused my will. A cold, sharp thing. The cup in his hand exploded against the far wall. "Get out!" The liquid splashed over Cale. He froze, then set the shattered cup aside. "Are you hungry? Is there anything you want?" "I can, get out." I cut him off, my voice ice. "Cale, get out of this room. Do you understand?" Cale's face went white. He knelt, his body trembling. "Elena, I let you walk into danger. I'm so sorry. You can hit me, scream at me, just please don't send me away." "Elena, don't do this. We're mates. Give me one chance to atone, please." "Negligence." I laughed, a sharp, broken sound. "Mates. First, we're broken up." "Who said we broke up?" "You were just angry, it doesn't count." "I don't agree." I ignored him. "Second, you charmed me into this trip. You watched me prepare everything. And then you used it all as props to flirt with Serafina. Was the performance worth it, Cale? Did you feel like a real hero? You abandoned me on the road at the gate, and then you kicked me out of our cabin for the entire night. No water, no food. While you were what? Playing a game with her? Weren't you tired of the act?" With every word, the color drained from Cale's face. The weight of his actions finally crashed down on him. "No. Elena, it wasn't like that," he stammered. "I didn't mean, I swear. I'll never see her again. I'll cut Serafina out of my life completely. I promise. I wasn't going to kiss her, I swear. The only one I love is you," I continued. I'm spoiled, arrogant, petty and a liar? Kale, I was wearing pants made from top-tier magic beast hide. The scalding coffee would only burn me worse. Did you forget that? At the memory, Kale flinched, tears welling in his eyes. But what did it matter now? When you called, do you know what I was doing? I was trying to call for your help. And you? You rushed off the line for Serafina. My own tears streamed down my face. And while you were protecting her, she was one of them. She was working with the traffickers. A tidal wave of rage crested inside me. I forged my psychic energy into a shard of agony and drove it deep into his consciousness. Blood seeped from the corners of his eyes and nostrils. He didn't flinch. No, impossible. Serafina, a trafficker. The words were a choked whisper. Then the unspoken conclusion hung in the air. Then I was her accomplice. The realization struck him. He didn't just fall. He collapsed, his body convulsing with silent, racking sobs. Get out of my sight, Kale. I said, my voice as cold and dead as winter stone. From now on, the only thing between us is my hatred. This is my final judgment. Ronan strode over and kicked him hard. Did you hear her? Get out. Ignoring Kale's pain-twisted face, he grabbed him by the collar and started dragging him out. Elena, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Kale's desperate voice was cut off as the door slammed shut. I wiped the tears from my face and forced a smile. Ronan, can you contact the enforcers for me? Tell them about Serafina. And thank you. The trafficker's drug hadn't worn off. I quickly fell back into a deep sleep. When I woke again, the first thing I saw was my father, his eyes red and rimmed with exhaustion. He had taken the fastest fighter jet. Father. The tears came instantly. My Pax Alpha already knew everything. His voice was thick with emotion. I'm here, Father's here. Don't be scared, Elena. You're safe now. Don't tell Mother. I choked out. She's inspecting the Northern Territories. Just then Kale showed up, his face a mess of bruises. He saw my father, then rushed forward and fell to his knees. Alpha Adrian, he choked out. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I'm the one who hurt Elena. I just saw Serafina and thought of the old days. I just wanted to help her. The only one I've ever loved is Elena. Please, just this once. Help me talk to her. Tell her not to throw us away. I'm begging you, sir. Get out. My father's voice was a physical force, an alpha command that slammed into Kale, sending him flying backward. Forgive you? I'll forgive you when hell freezes over. He followed up with a brutal kick to Kale's ribs. And another. He reared back for a third, but I stopped him. Not for Kale, but because I feared my father would make himself sick with rage. Kale, of course, saw it as hope. He scrambled to my bedside. Elena, he breathed, relief flooding his bruised face. You do still care. I knew you couldn't stand to see me hurt. Elena, I know I was wrong. I'll never be so foolishly kind again. From now on, I'll only ever be good to you. Please forgive me. I said nothing. No accusations. No rebukes. I just looked through him. My silence was a void. And in that void, the hope in his eyes shattered. He finally understood. He had truly lost me. A choked, guttural sob tore from Kale's throat. He stumbled to his knees and began to strike his own face hard. The sickening thud of flesh meeting flesh echoed in the sterile room. A trickle of blood marred his trembling lips. I had no desire to watch. Just go, Kale. My voice was flat. Dead. My father tolerated you because of our bond. That bond is gone. So is your status. You're an alpha, Kale. If you want to play the White Knight, then go hunt for your own damn resources. Now get out of my life. Father, Elena. Kale didn't want to go. I can't live without you. Love. Ronan's voice dripped with contempt as he stormed into the room. Save your breath. He strode forward, grabbed Kale by the collar, and hauled him out like a piece of trash. That afternoon, the enforcers took my statement. It was only then that I learned Kale had also called for help after Ronan. Ironic. Miss Elena, based on your information, we have taken Serafina into custody, the enforcer said. We will get to the bottom of this. They were fast. They had caught the traffickers red-handed. With my testimony, there was nothing to deny. They cracked her communicator, finding encrypted logs detailing her correspondence with the trafficking ring. The most chilling discovery came next. The remote village Serafina claimed as her home wasn't just a village. The entire settlement was a front. They called it a flesh market in their logs. A town built on stolen lives. And Serafina's mother? A powerful female beta, kidnapped years ago. I couldn't imagine what would have happened to me if Ronan hadn't been there. Once I was in that town, my life would have been a living hell. The case closed a month later. The enforcers rescued dozens of trafficked wolves. Serafina's mother was among them. She had been tortured into insanity years ago. As for Serafina, she had just come of age 2 days before the train. She was stripped of her spot at the training camp, sentenced to life imprisonment in the eternal mines, and socially exiled. A swift triple punishment. Over that month, I was discharged and entered the training camp, becoming an elite warrior. Kale tried to see me. He brought me kills, saved me the best training spots, tried to befriend my teammates. Sometimes Ronan would catch him, and Kale would get beaten half to death. "Ronan, that's enough," I'd say, my voice laced with weary affection. Instantly, all the fury would drain out of the hulking alpha. "Elena," he'd murmur, his voice laced with vulnerability. "Does this mean you still care about him?" "I'm worried you'll break a knuckle on that thick skull," I'd reply, rolling my eyes but unable to hide my smile. "Besides, think of the council paperwork. Hardly worth the ink to discipline an alpha for putting a stray in its place." Ronan's mood brightened instantly. He grinned like an idiot. A year later, Ronan graduated and was appointed to the High Council. I had been accepted into the advanced training program. On the day we were leaving, Kale found out. He rushed to the private airfield and blocked my path. "Elena, please don't go. I've saved up enough resources. Don't go with him. Just wait for me a little longer, please." He said it as if I'd been waiting. Delusional. I ignored him completely. I took Ronan's hand, our fingers lacing together. We walked up the ramp to the jet, side by side, leaving him behind. The cabin door sealed shut, silencing Kale's desperate, fading howls, and sealing away my past for good.